Belmarsh, a not-so-great prison in London, houses individuals with various backgrounds, including Kane Burgess, a tough-looking inmate with a metal-infused heart and soul, not forgetting his teeth. Despite facing unwarranted attacks from fellow prisoners, he manages to persevere every time. Despite his intimidating exterior, Kane is genuinely good-hearted, though the harsh prison environment has molded him into someone capable of using his bare hands to harm others. In the next turn of events, he swiftly heads for the hospital's rear exit, successfully making his getaway. The scene shifts to Kane's attempt to access an exclusive bar, where he encounters resistance from the bouncers. After a series of scuffles, Kane easily overpowers them, gaining entry. Engaging in a casual chat with Bez, the lively bartender, he presents himself as a member and requests a tall glass of beer. While enjoying his drink, he subtly eavesdrops on the conversations of a group seated across the bar. They belong to a gang that has recently scaled back its operations due to the murder of a member named Rook and the disappearance of their accountant. Toon, a gang member who witnessed Rook's demise, begins recounting the incident. According to Toon's version, as they conduct their usual drug dealings at their hangout, they suddenly notice someone lurking nearby in the dark of the night. While Toon is occupied with a customer, Rook fearlessly approaches the mysterious figure, attempting to understand their intentions. When met with silence, Rook grows agitated and tries to throw a punch, only to be unexpectedly struck by an axe, resulting in his hand being severed and falling to the ground, drenched in blood. Toon confidently shares that upon witnessing the incident, he confronted the assailant, causing them to flee in fear. In response, Kane bursts into laughter, playfully teasing Toon for not being tough enough to scare someone away. Kane insists that Toon is fabricating the story and reveals that he was the one who cowardly ran off after Rook's demise. Angered by Kane's remarks, Toon refutes the accusations and begins issuing threats. The entire gang rallies behind Toon, gearing up for a potential altercation. However, when Kane discloses his identity as the notorious killer, they retreat in fear. Bez, the animated bartender, urges Kane to leave her bar immediately. Meanwhile, the recently awakened bouncers attempt to confront Kane, but in mere moments, he overpowers them. Drawing a double-barreled shotgun, Kane emphasizes the extent of his danger. Kane nearly takes the entire gang hostage, demanding the whereabouts of their boss, Lincoln, a shady loan shark and corrupt businessman, ironically, Kane's own brother, who goes to great lengths for illegal gains. Instead, he encounters Hyde, Lincoln's most trusted aide, who has a vivid recollection of Kane. Hyde introduces Kane to the gang as the boss's sibling, emphasizing that Kane landed in prison due to a mistake. Hyde, unafraid to add a touch of humor, teases Kane about his facial scars and potential prison hassles. During this exchange, a bouncer lunges at Kane. Swiftly, a shot to the kneecap shatters the bouncer's leg, prompting agonized screams. In response, Kane delivers a kick to the face, rendering the bouncer unconscious. Despite witnessing such violence, Hyde remains unconvinced that Kane is Rook's killer, trusting Toon's account. To settle the doubt, Kane unveils Rook's severed hand in a plastic bag, presented by Toon. Now aware that Kane is an unflinching and ruthless killer armed with a shotgun, the gang has no option but to comply with his commands. After subduing Hyde, Kane holds him and Lincoln responsible for his imprisonment, instructing Hyde to contact his brother and bring him to the scene. Unfazed by people knowing his backstory, Kane, with a shotgun in hand, begins narrating his life story. A couple of years back, when Kane was just a struggling boxer trying to make ends meet, he turned to his brother, Lincoln, seeking financial support to kickstart a business. Lincoln, engaged in a card game with his gang, including Rook and accountant Stokes, had all lost bets on Kane due to his boxing mishaps. Before Lincoln could reply, Rook criticized Kane's request, hurling insults his way. In alignment with Rook's sentiment, Lincoln hesitated to lend money, considering Kane's checkered past. As Kane was about to leave in frustration, Lincoln halted him, proposing that he could provide the funds if Kane completed a job in return. Faced with limited options, Kane agreed without knowing the specifics. He visited Hyde's office to gather the necessary details, only to discover that the task involved stealing a plastic bag from an unsuspecting woman and returning it to the office. Unaware of the repercussions, Kane carried out the robbery. To his surprise, the woman chased him frantically, as if her life depended on the bag. The pursuit continued until the woman was tragically struck by a car. Stunned by the unfolding events, Kane found himself immediately apprehended by the authorities. A few days later, he encounters O'Hara, a top-notch detective who has spent years keeping tabs on his brother. In this meeting, he learns that his brother is involved in a shady loan operation where the borrowed money of unsuspecting individuals gets pilfered before they can use it. This vicious cycle traps the victims in mounting debt, ultimately resulting in the loss of their personal assets, including homes and vehicles. Detective O'Hara urges Kane to expose Lincoln, but despite being aware of his brother's malevolent actions, Kane remains loyal and refuses to betray him. Now entangled in 3 messy situations involving robbery, manslaughter, and organized crime, Kane's determination to stand by his brother persists. His introduction to Sergeant Evans, a robust and formidable interrogator known for bending the rules, adds another layer to the story. Sergeant Evans, a corrupt cop with a penchant for extracting confessions through unauthorized torture, subjects Kane to severe beatings. Despite resisting with his hands tied, Kane eventually succumbs to Evans' powerful punches, leading to his incarceration in Belmarsh prison, renowned for its grim reputation as the meat grinder. Facing numerous challenges without a criminal record, Kane braces himself for the harsh realities of his new environment. On his initial day, he faced an unprovoked assault from a burly individual, leading Kane to attempt a defense that escalated into a full-blown brawl with fellow inmates. After managing to knock down a few adversaries, he was eventually overpowered, resulting in the ruthless shattering of his front teeth. In the aftermath, Kane opted for metal dentures, surprisingly embracing the menacing look they bestowed upon him. During his time in jail, his still-living mother paid him a visit. Mrs. Burgess revealed that Lincoln held him responsible for the imprisonment, refusing to take any action on his behalf. This revelation left Kane feeling that his loyalty to Lincoln had been in vain, as his brother had seemingly abandoned him despite being the cause of his incarceration. Undeterred, Kane maintained his resilience and asked his mother to ensure that Lincoln reached out. Days passed without any communication from Lincoln, no meetings, calls, or even a letter. Eventually realizing he was on his own, Kane faced frequent attacks from fellow inmates, unaware of their motives. Despite the challenges, he had no choice but to defend himself, prompting him to initiate a rigorous physical and mental training program to prepare for future confrontations. During a typical day in the prison yard, he finds himself in a scuffle with 2 fellow inmates. Thanks to his rigorous training regimen, Kane effortlessly topples the duo with a few well-aimed punches after delivering a thorough beating. Filled with triumph over subduing the assailants, Kane's elation takes a sharp turn when a battered fellow inmate shares a startling and distressing revelation. The brutally attacked inmate discloses that his brother has placed a £20,000 bounty on his head, unveiling the reason behind the relentless day and night assaults. Fueled by rage upon learning this, Kane discovers a newfound purpose in life. The determination to seek vengeance against those responsible for his plight becomes an unyielding force, preventing him from giving up easily. As the prize money lures more prisoners into the fray each day, Kane's resolve and strength escalate alongside their increasing numbers. Each skirmish results in wounds, additional months of sentences, and occasional solitary confinement. In their quest to eliminate Kane, fellow prisoners resort to every available means, including a makeshift version of the flammable chemical liquid napalm, causing partial burns on his face. Slowly morphing into a relentless force, Kane finds himself on the path of becoming a vengeful entity, no longer recognizing the person he once was. As someone whose sole focus was survival, Kane showed no mercy, not even to prison guards, several of whom ended up seriously injured. After 3 years behind bars, a visit from his mother delivered devastating news: she had pancreatic cancer, limiting their time together. Overwhelmed by this revelation, Kane struggled to convey the gravity of Lincoln's actions, realizing he was now his mother's sole confidant. As time passed, Mrs. Burgess's health deteriorated. During one of Kane's hospital stays for a routine conflict, Detective O'Hara paid him a visit. It became evident to Kane that Sergeant Evans, the corrupt officer who had brutally tortured him, was one of Lincoln's informants and worked as a spy. Detective O'Hara disclosed that he promptly had Evans dismissed upon discovering this, and he was aware that Lincoln sought Kane's demise. Urging Kane to reveal information about Lincoln, this time, he agreed, striking a deal for one last meeting with his ailing mother. As we witnessed at the movie's outset, he cleverly secured an escape route through the hospital window, successfully utilizing it. Fast forward to the present, 2 gang members urgently request a restroom break, but Kane insists they use the facility here. Hyde, weary of Kane's lengthy stories, attempts to appear bold, encouraging him to do as he pleases. Unfazed, Kane brings him to his knees, cautioning that whatever Hyde utters next will be his final words. In the midst of this, Lincoln arrives with 3 of his men, visibly surprised by his brother's presence. Kane, now confronted by his number 1 adversary, intensifies his hostility, disarming them and dispatching them to the rest of the gang. Nearly ready to retaliate, Kane demands a compelling explanation for Lincoln's attempt on his life. After a failed attempt at a blood brother drama, Lincoln reluctantly confesses that he felt compelled to act because one of his spies learned of Kane's alleged plans to betray them. Aware of Evans, Kane reveals the misinformation, highlighting that instead of trusting his own brother, Lincoln placed faith in a corrupt police officer who is no longer in his employ. Recently, Kane encountered Hyde at his new workplace and, after a persistent struggle, dealt a fatal blow with a hammer to his head. Impressed by his brother's strategic thinking and careful planning, Lincoln pledges a fresh start and a new life. However, Kane dismisses Lincoln's promises, opting instead to shoot Hyde and deliver a brutal blow to his head, resulting in a sudden and more agonizing demise for onlookers. Dealing with the loss of his best assistant, Lincoln faces another blow from Kane. To his disbelief, only £1,500 remain in his account. Evidently, Evan's workplace wasn't the only stop for Kane after escaping. He also visited Stokes. During their meeting, Stokes attempts to intimidate Kane by brandishing a shotgun, but Kane takes it lightly and effortlessly disarms him. In exchange for sparing his life, Stokes agrees to fulfill any request Kane may have. Consequently, Kane donates the entire £2.2 million in Stokes' account to the families impacted by Lincoln's loan business. Now left with only his gang, Lincoln believes Kane will meet his end tonight, as there are only 2 bullets remaining for him, outnumbered by 10. Nevertheless, Kane asserts that he only requires one of those bullets, and it's reserved for Lincoln. As Lincoln becomes aware that Bez is gearing up to attack Kane from behind, the banter continues. While Kane is momentarily distracted by his brother's taunts, Bez strikes him on the head with a bottle, sparking a fierce brawl. Swiftly, Kane shoots one of the gangsters in the chest, but he is promptly overwhelmed by others, leading to him being disarmed. Facing an inability to engage Kane in hand-to-hand combat, the gangsters resort to hurling glasses and bottles at him until Bez provides them with a bag filled with iron rods, hammers, and knives. However, even armed with these weapons, they prove ineffective against Kane's resilient body and combat prowess. Despite Toon's usual fear leading him to initially run off, he returns with a submachine gun, comically missing all his shots at Kane. In an unexpected turn, Kane seizes the opportunity and, after accidentally killing one of his own gang members, utilizes the gun to dispatch a few more. The remaining tough individuals attempt to assail Kane with kicks, punches, and knives. However, one by one, they meet a gruesome fate at Kane's hands. In a series of decisive moves, one had his arm broken and was struck hard on the head, another faced a vampire-like bite to the neck, and the third endured repeated stabbings to the throat. At this juncture, only Bez, Lincoln, and Kane remain. Holding a shotgun aimed at Kane, Lincoln nonchalantly states that he doesn't care whether Kane intended to snitch, he placed a bounty on him to tarnish Kane's reputation among associates. When Lincoln attempts to pull the trigger, he's astounded to find the gun empty. Kane, fully aware of the unloaded weapon, smirks, pleased that he didn't fall for Lincoln's earlier deceptions. In retaliation, Lincoln lashes out at Kane, wielding a knife provided by Bez. A classic man-to-man knife struggle unfolds, culminating in Lincoln facing retribution for his malevolent deeds with a stab from his own brother. Displaying an apparent reluctance to harm women, even those with murderous intent, Kane departs, leaving Bez surrounded by the lifeless bodies of those she served throughout her existence. In the final scenes, one of Lincoln's targets gazes in surprise at his account balance, indicating that Kane has managed to partially rectify his brother's misdeeds. Beyond Kane's satisfaction, the reprisal has brought relief to the victims and even Detective O'Hara. And with that, the video concludes. One gloomy day, Kane is escorted by a high-security team to visit his ailing mother at the hospital. Unfortunately, upon arrival, he discovers she passed away just moments before. Despite his profound grief, he conceals his emotions, a skill acquired during his time in prison. After spending precious moments with his late mother, Kane surprises the guards in the elevator with unexpected and swift actions. His agility and ferocity catch them off guard, leaving them incapacitated and falling through the elevator floor. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Take care.